External validation is fleeting. True confidence comes from self validation. When you validate yourself, your confidence becomes unshakable because it's based on internal beliefs and not fluctuating external opinions. So let's talk about how external validation, which sometimes we can seek as humans, it can lead you into a cycle of doing things for others just to seek that validation because it's fleeting, because it doesn't stay. Because once you're done doing one thing, you want to do the next thing to get validation from others because that wasn't enough. It didn't bring true fulfillment. Or you can be in a place where a lot of people give you a lot of validation. They're validating you, telling you how great you are, how amazing and smart, intelligent, creative. It doesn't matter what they tell you. You don't believe them because you don't believe that about yourself. So how do you start creating self-validation for yourself and that true confidence that comes from that self-validation? How do you start shifting from wanting external validation to coming back to internal validation and giving the validation that you're seeking to yourself? Because that's what brings true fulfillment. The validation that we get from others doesn't bring us true fulfillment because, just like I said before, people's opinions are changing all the time. So sometimes their validation can be great and sometimes not because their opinions are changing. And therefore, if their opinion changes and now we don't have their validation, now we're feeling insecure. Self-validation comes from our self-love. Self-validation is self-respect. Self-respect is self-love. So how do you start cultivating more self-love so that you can validate more of yourself? The first thing I invite you to do is to identify why you're seeking this validation in the first place. So when you come across one of these experiences where you notice that you're seeking somebody's validation, start asking yourself, what is the belief or the limitation or the fear that's asking you to ask for this validation? Whether that is believing that you're not enough, or believing that you don't have enough experience, or believing that you're not pretty enough, or not good, whatever it is that belief is, identify that belief. Because we want to identify the root cause of our behaviors, the root cause of why we're showing up, how we're showing up. Pause and ask yourself, why am I feeling this way? And start realizing how a lot of this is rooted on self-doubt. A lot of it. And everybody has self-doubt. Every human being experiences self-doubt. So don't think that this is abnormal or weird. Every human being experiences self-doubt. Acknowledge that you're experiencing self-doubt, that it is normal. And now that you've identified the root of your self-doubt, or the root or the root of your self-doubt, what is the belief that's creating that self-doubt? What is the limitation or the fear that's creating that self-doubt? Now you want to start the second part of the process, which is to start reprogram and reframing those beliefs. This is a part of personal development. If you have been in this journey for a while, you know that this is how every time we come up across a new thing that we are going to work on, we have to get to the root of that belief, the root of that fear, so we can reprogram that fear to what we desire to live in alignment with in our present moment now. So now that you've identified the root cause of your self-doubt, you want to move to reprogramming and reframing. And you want to reframe and reprogram your mind to something that you do want to believe about yourself. Okay? So since you've identified this limiting belief on the first step, ask yourself, is this really 100% true all the time in your life about yourself? Like, is it true that you're not good enough? Ever? You've never been good enough? Never, ever? You've never felt pretty or good enough or intelligent or smart ever in your life? Start noticing how most of the time you cannot answer that 100% of the time that that's true. Because it's not. You're a pretty magical being. So again, asking yourself, why are you feeling this way? What is the root belief? And then what is it that you do want to believe? If right now the belief is that you're not smart enough or you don't have enough experience, what is it that you want to believe to reprogram and reframe your mindset, your perspective, and the way you're experiencing your life? So I'll give you some examples. If right now you're dealing with, I am not good enough, or I am not smart enough, or you know what, let's go for something that's very common in this space, which is like imposter syndrome. Let's talk about imposter syndrome. So if you're not feeling like you have experience enough or you know enough about this, how can you start reprogramming that mindset? How can you start reframing that perspective? You can start telling yourself, I am learning as I go, and I get to share what I do learn and what I do know with others. And I don't have to know everything because all of us are figuring it out. reminding yourself everybody started with no experience. I have to start somewhere and I will build that experience. And now I am here, but I am one step ahead of someone, and that someone I can help, I can guide, right? And just reminding yourself of these reminders. Or what I like to do when I'm like experiencing imposter syndrome, I actually like to have an album on my photos app, and the album contains all my testimonials, all the things that, all the compliments I've gotten like through my work and stuff like that, so that I can remind myself of the work that I am capable of doing, of the work that I am doing, and reminding myself that it is normal to be feeling like I don't know enough, because now I have stepped into a new ground and all of this stuff. And again, it's going to be a constant reminder, because these fears are not just going to appear once in your life and never appear again. So it's just learning the practice and having the systems in place, so that when you do come across these limitations or fears or beliefs that are holding you back, you have a system to be able to reprogram and get yourself out of there and keep moving forward. My third tip to giving yourself your own self-validation instead of seeking others' validation is to set yourself some goals and really commit and do them, and show up and do them, because this brings so much confidence in yourself, so much, a knowing of, I know I can do this, I know I can show up. And one of my tips within this tip is to start small. Start with small daily things, small daily wins you can commit to, that once you're finished at the end of the day, and maybe commit to it for 75 days. I have a video that I'll link over here for a 75-day challenge, where you can choose 5 small things, 5 small wins that you will commit to for 75 days every single day. And I promise you, this will build so much confidence if you show up for yourself and actually get it done. And this will give you the validation that you seek from others, because you don't need others to tell you, because a lot of the times people won't even see you getting these things done, getting these 75 days things done, or even your personal development journey, the fears that you overcome, the limitations that you overcome, the beliefs that you transform, reprogram, reframe. A lot of people don't see any of that, but that doesn't mean that you haven't done it. And so the only way, again, this is what creates that self-validation, knowing what you've done for yourself, knowing how you show up, knowing and validating and celebrating every small win, every commitment that you've shown up for, and every achievement, no matter how small, that you have completed. Because we do matter. What we do matters. The things the way that we show up does matter, even if sometimes people can't see it, even if sometimes people do validate it. We need to remember to see ourselves, because if we don't see ourselves, it doesn't matter how much other people see us, because we don't see ourselves. So it doesn't bring any type of fulfillment, happiness, progression. So that's why it's so important to work on yourself and work on your mindset and work on your relationship with yourself, because your relationship with yourself is what's mirroring everything in your life. It's what's mirroring everything that you experience in your life, and the people that you experience in your life, and the way that they show up with you in your life. So the people that are showing you and validating you, they're reminding you of the light that you are. They are reminding you of how amazing and unique you are. And remember that that's not where true fulfillment comes. True fulfillment comes from remembering who you are, from you showing up for yourself and applauding yourself and celebrating yourself for showing up, for continuing the path, for continuing to do the work, for choosing the hard decisions, for choosing to do what you're doing, whatever that is in. Tip for you is to detach from what you see on social media, whether that's your friends or people that you aspire to be and to be like. And I'm not saying like don't ever go on social media again. What I'm saying is, detach from comparing yourself to those people, because just like we just mentioned here, you don't know what the work that those people have put in to transform their beliefs, to transform their fears, their limitations, and to do the work and show up and be who they are. So you can't compare yourself to them, because you don't know what they do and they don't know what you do. So those are my 3 tips to help you shift from seeking validation to giving yourself your own self-validation and creating true, unshakable confidence. And again, just to go over them, number 1, identify the root of your self-doubt. Then move on to number 2 and reframe and reprogram that belief or fear or whatever it is that you've identified in number 1. And then move on to step number 3. Go to remind yourself of past wins or celebrate current wins in your life. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this resonated with you, and I will see you in my next video.